All right, this month we are back with one of my now recurring guests.
Hello.
Jennifer Kimbrough. She's good in a pinch. I had a plan for my December podcast and then completely forgot that my guest was going to Ireland and did not plan around her leaving the country. So she's going to join us in January. She her name is Mallory. It's my cousin's wife, and she is in a very unique online book club. So we're going to talk about book clubs and different ways people, because 2020, it's going to be 2023. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways to be in a book club.
Yeah.
So that's a teaser for next month. So anyway, I called you.
I mean, she could have taken you to Ireland to record it.
That's very true. That's very true. We could have spoke of Irish authors.
You could have. There's plenty out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I knew you knew this topic also, because we're going to be talking about books as gifts and gifts for bookish people and bookish gifts. There's like 1,000 different ways to say
There's 1,000 different gifts out there or more.
First of all, let me ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you think of like a favorite book gift you've received, like either as a kid or recently or?
Okay, so as a kid, and I still have it, my grandmother and I read the Anne of Green Gables books together when I was little. Not all of them. I think we read like the first two. And she and my grandfather were part of one of those like senior citizen travel groups. Mm-hmm. And they went to Prince Edward's Island to Anne of Green Gables. And she got me a copy of the book and then wrote me like the sweetest little note inside of it, and I still have it, and I think she had herself a copy too, so now I have her copy, and that's probably my favorite.
That's awesome. And it's sentimental.
It is, yeah. And she always bought me some sort of, like, we also got really into Little Women together, and so she bought me like a collector's edition of Little Women, and I have her little note in it. I think any book that's been that meaningful where they also write a note inside makes it not just a book.
You'd be surprised how this is kind of terrible, but like how many book donations we have come to the library
that have signatures inside.
Yeah, and I mean it'll be autographed copies of things, and then it'll be like people who have written like to my Uncle Joseph on your 80th birthday, and
he was like, I don't even like that book.
Or he's no longer with us, and then
well, that's sad.
It is. So
way to make us sad right
bummer.
now, Jamie.
Merry Christmas. Wait till you hear my book recommendations for the month. Like, let's see. I was trying to think like what my favorite was. There were two different things that stood out to me. And the first one I think I was in kindergarten or first grade. My aunt and uncle are like, they've always liked flea markets and thrift stores and things like that. And they just bought me a bunch of like paperback books and put it in a box. And when I opened the box, it was like 20 books.
Oh.
And it was just, I don't even remember what the books were, but I just was so excited at the quantity. And then my dad did the same thing. He found, I was in middle school and I was a big nerd, and he found a box of classics that he had to read in college. And gave them to me. Yeah, that was really cool. Mm-hmm. Because he'd read everything in the box. So
right.
It was like I would read them and we'd talk about it.
It was meaningful too.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So I was also the kid who loved the box set. Like I would already own the books, but like if they would package them together, like I would still want them.
I had, when I was a kid, I had all the Babysitter's Club books. Mm-hmm. Every time a new one would come out, I would go buy it. But then they would release like editions 1 through 25 in a box set.
Yeah.
And my meemaw wouldn't ever let me then go buy the box set. 'Cause she was like, but you already own them, not as a box set. So you got to own the box sets. Oh, well.
Do you have any books on your Christmas list this year?
I keep buying them for myself. They were on my list, but now they're on my shelf. Some came yesterday. So a friend of mine, we read a lot together, and then she gives me recommendations. But she kind of gave me this challenge, like if it's a 5-star read this year, to actually like buy it instead of, so that then we own it, and we're not just, once and forgotten.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have been trying to go back and get a few 5-star reads, but so my favorite romance series I bought, and it came in yesterday, and that was like my Christmas gift to myself. But it has paper dolls with it that are the characters from the book.
Oh my gosh.
And so now I feel like a little kid, and I really want to tear the paper dolls out and play with them.
And what book was it?
It's the Winston Brothers series.
Of course it was.
I love
That's the
them.
beard guys you talked about
Yes.
last month, right? Okay.
It is. And now I have their paper dolls. So.
Well, how fun.
Well, is it? It's a little different. Oh,
I was trying to think if I had any, but I'm sure I've got books on my Christmas list. And if I haven't, I'm sure I've put something somewhere. That I've been chasing this copy of It by Stephen King for like 3 years, and it's like, I mean, it's just like the trade re-released like paperback copy that came out like 3 years ago.
So it's not like
it's not special.
Yeah.
But it was on my list 3 years ago and it got ignored, so I put it on my list last year, and now I don't even want it, and I put it on my list this year because I'm like,
for the principle of it.
I'm petty. I'm like, somebody, why are y'all overlooking it?
Have you called attention to it, or are you just hoping they see it?
No, I called attention to it a couple of times. So, but I felt around under the tree and it's not there. So I probably don't deserve it with this horrible attitude of
being petty over it. It's a punishment.
It's like a $16 book too. I'm like, that's so stupid. Just go buy it. I'm like, I just want you to buy it for me.
My thing's because I am really bad about that. I'm just going to buy it for myself. Mm-hmm. Instead of making a list, I'm terrible about that. But my things I would want are more bookish gifts.
Yeah,
like some sweatshirts,
like your shirt you have
like
on.
my shirt
Tell everybody
on.
what your shirt is.
So it is like the trend right now is this silhouettes of people like on the covers of books and stuff, or like a graphic design, almost cartoonish, where they don't really have a face, but it's a colored picture of them. So it's that's what it reminds me of. And it's Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. And it says, "Let it snow." And then the O has the 3 lines through it, like Game of Thrones.
It's in that Game of Thrones font. It's awesome.
And everyone at the Christmas parade asked me if it was Jesus. It's Jon Snow. Oh, well. I tried.
Jesus with a Santa hat.
And a cute little beard. Yeah.
Well, that's super cute. Okay, so let's use that as our jumping off point. So what are some bookish gifts or some books as gifts that you would recommend to people who are doing some last minute Christmas shopping?
Okay, so when you and I first started talking about this, I was thinking of books. Books are deeply personal. You have to really know the person. I feel like, because the content, if people are disturbed by certain content or belief systems, because the book I keep thinking that would make a great gift is Michelle Obama's new book.
Yeah,
but you can't just give that to anybody. So you have to know your recipient.
True.
So I think that would make a great gift to give, because she's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she reads it, and she's a great narrator. So she's great all around. So I think her gift would make her book would make an excellent gift.
I agree. It was on my list as well.
Yes. There's a lot on the good. So we just finished up, as if I'm part of it. We just finished up the Goodreads Choice Awards. I did vote. I voted all around, so I was part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like any book nearly from that list. I mean, there's a reason.
Right,
30,000 people voted on a book or whatever.
Right.
So one that I haven't read it. I got 3 chapters in, but then a book came available at the library that I needed to jump on. Is Lessons in Chemistry.
Yes, I have it. Yes, I have. I haven't read it.
So I think it's probably one of those general women's fiction books that anybody would really enjoy and get something out of. So that I think that would make a great gift for any of your women in your life.
What would you buy a guy?
Okay, so if there's like a memoir of a actor or musician that they enjoy, that would always be. My husband reads science fiction.
Yeah.
And there's this, I just see, I don't know anything about his books whatsoever, but I see when they come through on Audible that he's used a credit or whatever. So there's an author he reads all the time, Craig Allenson. You ever heard of him? I'm not in that world. But so if a man, I actually had someone recently ask me for some science fiction recommendations. And I was like, well, he seems to be well enjoyed by my husband. So anything by that author, Craig Allenson.
Okay. I would probably, I agree with what you say about the memoirs. And I would specifically say, and I wrote this on my list, Storyteller or The Storyteller by Dave Grohl. Because it seems like everybody, even if you don't like the Foo Fighters music, you still like Dave Grohl because he's pretty funny. He's been around forever. Everybody knows who he is. And the Bruce Springsteen book that came out a few years ago is really good.
I've found that most memoirs I enjoy, even if I have no idea anything about the person. Like sometimes I just, like, especially when I'm using Libby, if they are available and I'm in one of those droughts where I can't find anything, a lot of times I'll pick a memoir. They're almost always interesting. So memoirs are always a good way to go.
And cookbooks, I like to give cookbooks a lot. And those are so easy to kind of, there's so many good cookbooks out there now. And I asked my 23-year-old son, who he's not a big recreational reader, but I was like, what would you like? Because he had a couple of cookbooks on his. He
does cook, right?
Yes, he does cook. And on his Christmas list, he had a couple of cookbooks, but he had suggested, some really like cool cookbooks. And there's one that we eat from very often, and it's based on like Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, yeah, and it's a neat book too.
That's a neat way to format a cookbook.
Yeah.
I follow this. She's an author, motivational speaker. She's in the Christian world, Jen Hatmaker, and she has a new cookbook out. And I've read all of her books, and I imagine her cookbook is equally entertaining.
Yeah.
So, and I like a cookbook that's like that.
Chrissy Teigen's are kind of like that. It's like
there's like a story along with the recipe or whatever.
Yeah, and you hear it in her voice, and like the little anecdotes are funny.
Yeah.
Another set of, well, it's not really a set of cookbooks, but that I like to gift, and these are good for housewarmings, or even like if you have like somebody who's graduating college and you want to put like a basket or a gift bag together, different things for like a first home. But Mark Bittman's books, he did How to Cook Everything, How to Bake Everything, and the one that I love right now is How to Cook Everything Vegetarian, and they're like 600 pages, like they're huge.
I need that.
Yeah, and it takes you through like the tools you need, how to stock your pantry, and different techniques. Yeah, they're really good.
Talking about cookbooks, I just thought of something that my grandmother used to give to us. I don't know if it was just the church I went to, but
it wasn't. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm about to say. Our church had a church cookbook. Like the ladies would put it together or whatever. And I use that cookbook every holiday. Like I've got like favorites in it. And they're going to be real old school. Like all the casseroles and all the...
They're going to use oleo instead of butter.
Yes. And exactly. Lard, there's going to be all those things in it. But you can't go wrong with an old lady church cookbook.
Yeah.
They're always going to have something good.
One of my second cousins, so it would be like my mom's age, she put together one for like my grandmother's side of the family, and she collected stories and all of that. And I was a teenager when she did it, so it meant nothing to me. And now it's like all of the cousins my age are like scrambling to find like
so
these
now
cookbooks.
It's meaningful.
Yeah, and it's just like, why didn't we care about this?
Because you were teenagers.
Yeah, and everybody was still alive, and we were still going to these people's houses eating these casseroles, and now it's like,
that's even more personal than a church cookbook.
Yeah.
Aww. Yeah. Yeah, anything like that. Those are meaningful.
What about for like kids? What would you, if you had like a 10-year-old?
Oh, a 10-year-old.
Or just any age range.
Okay, so little kid, because my kids aren't little anymore. Mm-hmm. God, if you had asked me this question a few years ago, I would probably have a whole list for you. It's like I've grown with their age on what I'm.
Yeah. You don't have like an old standard.
Yeah.
That you.
Okay, so for like YA, I was thinking about the other day, and I haven't read them, but all those Jenny Han books.
Yes.
It's a girl.
Yeah.
And then there's this one, and I think it's YA. I hope I'm telling people, and it's not going to be like something inappropriate for a teenager, but I keep seeing Heartstopper. Have you heard of that book?
That's not the Legend-born sequel, is it? What's Heartstopper?
It has a cartoony cover.
Okay, no, that's not what I'm thinking.
But I saw it on the shelf at Target the other day, and then I keep seeing it on Book Talk and stuff, and I think it's YA, Heartstopper. It looks like a YA, kind of like a YA romance, like a Jenny Han kind of book. There's a lot of YA fantasy.
Yeah.
That's out. Now, these are going to be probably geared towards females as well. Because I have female children, I'm not good at telling you what would be good for a boy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good YA fantasy that's coming out.
Well, the Lee Bardugo books, the Six of Crows, like that series, I think is really good. Like even if you have like a reluctant male reader. And there's a book, and I will gift this book until the end of time. It's one of my very favorite books, and I want to make sure I get the author's name right. I had to read it in a class in library school. It was like required, and we had to discuss it. And it won some award for being translated. Okay. Original language. It was originally written in Swedish, and it's translated into English. It's called The Murderer's Ape by Jacob Vegelius, I think is how you say his last name. And it is one of the best books I've ever read. I read it every single year. And I think about it, it's like I would never have found that book because I'm in my 40s and it's a juvenile fiction book. It's 600 pages, but it's a juvenile fiction book. And it's it's about an ape, like a gorilla named Sally Jones. And she's like a human, but she can't speak, but she can write and she can communicate with like.
Is it from her perspective?
Yeah, it's from her perspective.
Wow.
And she works on a ship, and the ship's captain gets arrested for murder. Oh. And she is working to like prove that he didn't commit this murder, and she meets all these people along the way, and it's just this really lovely international story because it's set in Portugal and some of it's set in India about found family, which I think is really important, and that's the age where kids start
looking for that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to make that connection.
It is it's the best book. It is the absolute best book.
I'm gonna have to save that one. That sounds really good.
I've got to see if my buddy Oscar, who does my book reviews, he does his little segment, and I know I've talked to him about it like via his mom before, but I don't know if he's read it. But I'm like, one day Oscar's going to read that book and we're going to talk about it. And it's really good because it has like just a smidgen of romance, but not enough to be like, off-putting for people who don't want that in their book. But I don't know, it's just really good. So if there's anybody, especially if it's like kind of an advanced reader between the ages of 8 and 13, I know I bought a copy to put in our YA section at my old library. So really it's appropriate for 8 and up. Right. But it's really good.
One of my little young friends, she's a 9th grader, and I was just thinking, and this is a series that is for a boy or a girl, and I think it has stood the test of time, is the Percy Jackson. Anything in that world, universe. Yeah. I think you can't go wrong there.
And there's so many different series now in that.
And I think there's like new stuff at the moment. My little young friend, I follow her, and she has a whole commitment to that world, and she's always posting like new things. I think maybe there's a new movie coming out or something.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check into that.
Yeah. So you can't go wrong. And especially especially if I'm not just making this up and that there really is something new coming out, because that means it's going to be really relevant again. So,
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, you can't go wrong with Percy Jackson for boys or girls.
And something else I would suggest are like especially for people who are fans of the MCU. If you've got like, let's say 13 and up, I don't think I would go younger than 13, but the Matt Fraction comics that the Hawkeye series was based off of are excellent, and like they're very like artistic, and it's just like it's a full comic experience. So I always recommend those. And then the She-Hulk comics are really fun, and that was one of the more recent Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, comics are you can't go wrong with comics,
and there's so many good ones now, and they're being better subdivided by age range. So it's not like you have to go to the graphic novel section of Barnes and Noble and immediately be overwhelmed. Like there's going to be some in juvenile fiction and juvenile nonfiction, and the same thing, like there's a lot of nonfiction graphic novels now for all ages that are really good. So definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, that sounds good. There's a lot. I mean, there's just so many good books coming out and that have come out this year. Like that Karen McManus, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like she has a new book that just came out, and it's a YA psychological thriller, I guess.
Yeah,
that's kind of what she. And I've never read a book by her that wasn't great.
Yeah,
so
all of hers are good.
I think any of those would make a great gift for a young person.
My son also wanted me to mention that there are a lot of really cool art books that are released about video games. So and I've ordered some for our library. Like they're I was trying to think of a couple. I know I just ordered one that was a Legend of Zelda. It was based on like some artwork from Legend of Zelda, but I mean just across the board, like it's just a really popular subgenre.
Someone has created art to the theme of that video game.
That, or it's actual like, stills and images from the video game, and they're broken down, and the artists are, describing like the inspiration and how they created it. I mean, it's just,
that's really neat.
It's all across the board, but some of them, are inspired by the video game. So, and then there's a set of books that I found, for the library, and I was like, note to self, I'm ordering these for everybody. It's the Ultimate History of Video Games, volumes 1 and 2. And these books, they're so huge and they're so expansive.
I bet they're huge.
And they start at the beginning, like from the inception of what video games might be up until like 2020. So
that's really neat.
And that one's on Amazon. I think I've seen it at Barnes and Noble. Pretty much everything we're talking about you can find. I mean, you can find everything on Amazon anyway. But, but don't forget to check your independent bookstores, because you never know what's there too.
That's right. Or we don't. That's something I get sad about, is that we don't have an independent bookstore here.
Yeah.
So we just have Books A Million.
Just Books A Million, yeah.
But independent bookstores all the way.
Did you have any other books or websites or anything you wanted to talk about?
No, let me not. Oh, yes, I did. Okay. I feel like this should be required reading for all humans, and maybe it's just this was something we talked about last month, but the Anthropocene Reviewed.
Yeah.
By John Green. It's a collection of essays, but it's just so good. I've read it now 3 times this year. So
what age range, like where would you start? Like what's the youngest you think you would recommend that?
I think I'm sure a lot of young people are reading it because it's John Green. It's his first nonfiction he's ever put out. I mean, if you had a mature reader, middle school and up,
okay,
I
cool.
would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing. It's just his thoughts on lots and lots of subjects.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we talked about last month how he reviewed something silly like Diet Dr. Pepper.
Right.
But then he gave like this beautiful story about he reviewed, and I'm not even going to try to say it, but the song you sing on New Year's Eve, I always mispronounce it.
Auld Lang Syne?
Yes.
Okay.
I always mispronounce it. So I was like, I'm not going to sound stupid and try to say it on here. But then he did a review of that song, but he brought in the story of the Armistice Day in World War One.
Yeah.
On the Christmas Eve. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So he brought in that in his story, and I learned a ton. And he reviewed Halley's Comet, and he told like the background of Halley's Comet and like the scientists that observed it and named it and all of that. So I think
that would
very, very good.
Yeah, that sounds like that would make a good book.
I think middle school and up.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one website I wanted to talk about. I cannot believe I forgot it existed. My friend Rachel, she had reached out to me and was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of outofprint.com?"
Oh, that's on my list of bookish gifts. I have I on my phone right now is a screenshot so that I didn't forget, because I got an ad from them. So I have 2 T-shirts. I have a Little Women T-shirt and an Anna Green Gables T-shirt from them. But typically their stuff is going to be classic, more like geared towards classic books.
Yes, but sometimes they'll grab something new and current.
That's like all over the place. And
when Baby Yoda was like all the rage, I got a Baby Yoda shirt for it was like "Read It Is the Way" or something like that. It's really super cute. But they have socks and lots of. I'm a big fan of the "Don't Let the Pigeon Do Whatever" books.
They do a lot of that.
Tons of merch.
Yeah. They have tons of children's book stuff.
Yeah,
they have a lot of cute stuff from that. Yeah.
And they always have some really good stuff on clearance too. I've noticed. So if you're ever on
once
their
a
website.
year, and it might have. It was probably like last week and we've missed it or something. But like once a year, they'll do their shirts, buy one, get one free.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Buy one, get one half off.
Yeah.
That's how I got my Little Women and Anna Green Gables books.
Okay.
When they have that sale once a year. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I love out of print.
I do too. They're good.
As a business who has an Etsy shop, I am always trying to support Etsy shops. And there's tons of bookish stuff on Etsy. Anything you could think of. Like for the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, there's like people who have made Feyre scented candles, or there's anything you could think of for any book. People are just so creative.
So since you know your way around Etsy pretty well, so like let's say somebody wants to buy something like that, what is the best way for them to get to the right things? Just to go and search the name of the book or the book series and see what comes up?
Yeah, Etsy has a really good algorithm.
Okay.
And it works through keywords just like anything. And so it's going to connect you. Like if you were to put in guitar merch, it's going to connect you to anything that has to do with that. So, yeah, they have a really good, I guess it's algorithm. I guess that's the right word for their search engine. But yeah. Or like one day I was looking for new book jackets for my books, because people make fan art for a lot of books, and you can buy their book jackets instead of using the publisher's book jackets.
Right.
And Etsy, and this is actually, as sellers, we don't love this, but because it distracts people from your Etsy shop, but they're constantly suggesting, like, if you like this product, you'll like this product. So they're always doing that too. So you're bound to find something on Etsy for any book you love.
Did you have any other bookish gifts you wanted to talk about?
Yes. Okay. A book tracker is like a journal. There's one, and it's by One Canoe, and it's always sold out, but I would really love it. And I would like something where you can handwrite in it, because there's all the brain science about if you've written it by your hand, it's going to stick in your memory more. And then I think, well, that book will stick in my memory more if I've written it by hand, my book review. Right. So, yeah, a book tracker. Now, there's a product, and I keep seeing it everywhere, and I know nothing about it, but I wish I had one. It's a Kindle Scribe. I keep hearing everybody talk about how they want a Kindle Scribe, and now I want one, but I don't know anything about it. I think that it serves as almost like a book journal, but it's all digital.
Okay.
Like maybe I'm just talking off the top of my head and I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think maybe it has a stylus with it and you can write notes and journal as you read a book.
And it's called a Kindle Scribe.
Scribe, yes. It's like their newest and greatest.
Well, I think we have pretty much covered some really good options for last minute Christmas gifts for people who like to read and maybe don't like to read, but you want them to read.
I know.
That's always
that's a touchy one too, because then I'm going to feel emotionally attached to that gift I gave them, and if they don't actually appreciate it,
yeah,
I feel a little bitter.
I always want to follow up on it.
Why did you not read that book?
My cousin's daughter is 6, and at Thanksgiving, I had asked her what she wanted for Thanksgiving, and I mean, she immediately, because she's like, she's visited me at the library before, and she knows I'm the library, and she started the next sentence with, "I want you to get me," and then she started naming off like books that she wanted. Aww. And I'm just like, well, of course I'm gonna go do that. Like, all I want is for children to ask me for books,
to read the books,
and I'm like, yes, I will buy. But one of the books she wanted, 6 years old, she was like, I would like for you to get me a history book. And when I was like, what kind of history? And she's like, I would like a history book about presidents.
Oh,
I was like, how smart are you? I love that. So I've been having a good time looking.
If she's asking you for a history book about presidents, she's probably well beyond these books. But when my kids were little, and I know they still put them out, they're those bobblehead books, you know?
Yeah.
They have,
who were they?
Yes.
Or yeah.
And those are always fun.
Yeah.
Those are always
a good
fun.
idea.
Yeah. The
that's
bobblehead.
A really good idea.
That's not really the name of them, but that's how people know them, is because it has the person or whoever
like
it's about. It's like a biography. Yeah. And they have a big head.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Those are always fun books. And they do them not just on boring celebrities. I mean, like, there was Steve Jobs, Walt Disney. My kids had Walt Disney when they were little.
The Beatles. I know they did one on the Beatles.
Yeah. Those are always good books for little kids.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, good way to round that out.
I came on in there with a little kid one. Oh, one more.
Okay.
My youngest, when she was little, and she still, like, won't let me get rid of them, she loved getting those Guinness Book of World Records books.
My son did too.
Yes,
yeah,
loved them. She would all the time. She would just be sitting, even if she already knew who the world's tallest man was or whatever, she would go back and read them again.
Yeah,
those are fun. I've always heard that little kids, they like stories, of course, but they like to see stuff in small chunks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're dealing with, like, nonfiction or facts.
Yeah.
They like little small blurbs and chunks of stuff.
That makes sense.
So I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've always heard.
I think it sounds true, Jennifer.
I think it does too. It does sound true.
And we'll just write that up as fact. Okay, so we talked earlier, there's no book news because right now all I want to talk about is Prince Harry documentary. And
that's all anyone's going to talk about.
And that book is coming out next month, so I'm like, there's no reason for us to do book news. But I do want us to do a couple of either like books you would recommend to our listeners or books that are on your to-read list that you're planning on reading soon. So what you got?
I actually do have one. So my favorite romance author is Penny Reed. I told a friend yesterday she's probably going to get a protection order against me or something because I'm always tagging her on Instagram whenever I'm reading one of her books. She's going to be like, oh, that crazy book girl again. But she has a new book coming out next week, actually, and it's the second in a series. Mm-hmm. And this one is called Drama King. And all of her books have like a needlepoint design. The cover looks like it's been cross-stitched or whatever. Mm-hmm. So this is the second in a series. The first one was Homecoming King, and they're Christmas books. So this one is Drama King.
Very cool.
But they are romance, so you know, I mean, you have to know your recipient if you're giving that to. You can't just give that to anybody.
Right.
So.
Okay.
I don't think romance novels are for just anybody. I know a lot.
I didn't either, and then I read that Bridgerton book.
I know a lot of anti-romance. They're like, oh, romance, yuck. So yeah, they're just not. They just don't do that. So. Yeah. But that's coming out. On my TBR is a Game of Thrones. Anything Game of Thrones coming. Like, anything Game of Thrones related.
Yeah. It's on mine. I ordered a copy of the first one from me yesterday.
Those would make great gifts.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
So, and there's nothing new coming out for that, I don't think, but they still would make great gifts.
Yes, I agree. My two recommendations, my big downer recommendations for Christmas. So,
are they like horror?
No, they're about the opioid crisis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, on that topic.
We the Matthew, was it you and I who talked about the Matthew Perry book?
Yes.
Okay, so he has a book, a new memoir called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. And I was like, one day I'll read it. And then Blaine Duncan, who is like the godfather of all things like Alabama Take, he texted me just out of the blue and was like, hey, have you read his book? And I was like, not yet, but we just talked about it on Book News. And
I've heard it's rough.
Yeah, he's like, I have pretty much read it in a day. He's like, I don't usually do that. So I had to immediately buy it from, Audible and stop everything else I was reading. It's excellent. Like, it's really good. It's hard. It's hard to listen to.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's like, you can't really say, I enjoyed that book.
I'd listen to it again, though. I mean, it's not so dark that I wouldn't.
Right. Did you think, I read a review of it yesterday, and someone said he comes across as a real jerk in it. Did you feel that way?
I think he comes across as very real. Like, I can absolutely see. He wasn't
Chandler.
No, he wasn't Chandler.
And if you go into that, Chandler,
yes, that's the problem. Yeah. I was already a Matthew Perry fan before I watched Friends, so I kind of already, and then Chandler was my favorite character on Friends.
Of him.
Yeah, he had done a couple of things before that that I really liked. So, but I mean, nothing major, but But yeah, he's
on my list.
He's not Chandler. And also, if you've ever smoked, like if you've ever been like a smoker and you listen to this, at the end of the book, he's trying to quit smoking like for good. And I don't know if it's just because that part is like going to be like more relatable for people, but like that, to me, that was the part where it was like, I just really felt his struggle because it isn't. It's like he didn't have to go to a drug dealer to get cigarettes. They're just right there.
Everywhere.
And the cigarettes are what got him through all of this other terrible stuff he was trying to quit. And he had a really, really rough time with it. And that's kind of how
that's hard.
How the book ends. But yeah, but it sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like he's really okay. Yeah. I was kind of worried
it wasn't scary where you think he's going to have a major setback or anything.
I don't feel that way. Like, I didn't leave the book feeling like, okay, well, I'm just going to wait for the news to be let down.
Well, it's on my TBR for sure.
Yeah, you should rate it. It's good. Yeah. And if you listen to it, I mean, he rates it.
That's what I'll do. Yeah.
So my other heartwarming, uplifting book that I would like to recommend is Dope Sick.
Okay, that leads me to what I'm going to tell you in a minute. A friend and I were just talking about that book yesterday.
About Dope Sick?
Yes.
It's Dealers, Doctors, and the Drug Company That Addicted America by Beth Macy. I think I read this book because it was shortlisted for the National Book Award, or it was on the list. It was one of the finalists, but is
the series that was on TV?
Yes.
Based on, I say TV like we still have regular TV. But
on Hulu.
On Hulu? Yeah. Is it based off of that book?
It is. I haven't watched it. Okay. But it's my understanding that some of the people, like, it is based on true events, and some of the people from the book show up on the miniseries. But the book is very multifaceted. Like, you get everything from like the history of like why opioids were developed, who developed them, but then you also get a lot of the science about what it does to the human brain and the human body, and the science of addiction and why it's hard to quit.
Right.
And then you get the people like who are dealing with it.
Right. Like recovering addicts,
people who had family members who maybe lost their battle, the fallout from addiction, like a lot of like the socioeconomic issues that come from that, and just the whole thing about like
crisis.
Like the area. I didn't realize it started, the opioid crisis started in such a small section of the U.S. So,
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And she's got another book out and I meant to look it up before I got here. I'm not sure if it's like a continuation of it or if it's a different topic, but I will read it. Beth Macy is a fantastic writer.
So do you think that book is better as a physical book or audiobook? Which did you do it?
I did audio.
Was it good as audio?
Yes, because some of it was so heavy I had to stop. Like I would I would listen in chunks and then stop. But I got and I would never do this, but but when I was listening to it, I would take my break and drive to a parking lot somewhere where I could have complete peace and quiet and listen to it for 30 minutes and then go back to work.
Oh yeah.
It's really,
you have to really think about it.
You have to think about it. It's very absorbing, but it's also very heavy. And also we're at the point where, I don't want to speak for everybody, but the opioid epidemic is so widespread. It's almost like everybody's touched by it. Everybody knows somebody.
I agree.
And that makes it, that kind of gives it a little more depth than maybe if this book had come out. Well, if the book had come out 20 years ago, there wouldn't be such a
because not as many people would have been affected by it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
they would have been that's just them over there, or those people.
So maybe don't put this in somebody's stocking. but if you're looking for a really good nonfiction read, and that is Dope Sick by Beth Macy.
So on that train of thought, a friend just finished reading Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver.
Is that good? Yeah.
She loved it. And I think it goes along with what you're talking about. I think it's fictionalized version of someone from that life.
Gotcha.
Of the opioid crisis, maybe.
And it's also a retelling of David Copperfield.
Yes.
So it's...
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to have to read that. And it's Barbara Kingsolver, right?
Yes. And she's such a good storyteller.
She is,
She's so good. Yeah. The friend who suggested it, it's hard. It's a hard read. Mm-hmm. It's not going to give you warm fuzzies at all, but I think it has a lot of profanity. Mm-hmm. So if those kinds of things bother you, well, you're probably not going to be picking a book about drug addictions and stuff if that bothers you. But yeah. So
okay.
That's a good one. And it's one of the winners, or it was maybe an honorable mention for the Goodreads Choice Awards that just came out. So
was it it seems like it was a book. I think everything's a book of the month pick.
Uh-huh. That was something I meant to talk about, a subscription to Book of the Month.
Yes, for a gift.
That is an excellent gift.
It is, yeah. And if you're already a member of Book of the Month, this is not an ad, but Book of the Month, if you're listening.
You can be an ad right here.
But if you buy, you can do, because we did a 6-month subscription for my mother-in-law. So if you gift a subscription to somebody else, you get a free book if you're already a member.
Oh.
Yeah, it was exciting. Huh. And then after you're a member for a year, you get a free book for your birthday. And you get a free copy of your choice of one of the Book of the Year finalists. So, yeah. So just hang in there. You just started, right?
I did. Well, my book hasn't even come yet. I saw that after I'm a member for 3 months, I get access to merch. I love merch. I'm such a dork. I just love book merch or anything I'm into at that time. I want the merch for it.
Yeah.
So
that's a high quality bag they'll send you too. It's nice.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I love everything Book of the Month.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I never thought, I was like, why do I want to be in Book of the Month Club? But then I joined it and I'm obsessed with it.
That's I was like, well, I can just get it on Kindle, the book, if I want it. But it's just something different about a hard copy book surprising you in the mail.
Yeah.
So,
and they're usually
they're
very
great,
good.
Right? Yeah. If they made it to Book of the Month, they've been fully vetted. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're not going to get some stupid garbage can book that you don't want to loan to somebody else or reread. So
the selection I picked, and I picked it, I'm seeing it everywhere, is Kiss Her Once for Me, and it is an LGBT romance. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's YA, although I have seen it on YA lists, which would make me think it's a clean-ish romance if it's on some YA lists. But it's a holiday book.
Okay.
So, and I keep seeing it everywhere, and I was like, I'm going to pick that one. So, yeah.
That's not the one I got. I got the... Here we go. Can't remember the title of anything ever. The Light...
the parade. You told me, and then I saved it.
I can see the cover.
And it sounded so good.
It did.
Hold up.
Yeah,
I
I'll
just
cut all this
saved it
out.
in my Goodreads, so it's gonna.
The Lightkeeper.
Is that it?
No, it doesn't sound right.
My books. Want to read. All right, here we go. The Light Pirate.
Okay, my selection was The Light Pirate.
Yep. By Lily Brooks Dalton.
Yeah, it sounded really, it's kind of fantasy sounding. I think.
And the synopsis sounded excellent.
Yeah, they always get you. Oh, and let me give you a tip. Don't ever just read the book of the month. You may have already figured this out. Don't read the book of the month synopsis. They don't tell you anything. Like, you have to go to Amazon and get the full scoop of what the book is about. Because there were a couple of times where I would have chosen terribly wrong for like my taste if I hadn't gone over and read the.
That's interesting that they don't do good synopsis when that's their whole business.
Yeah. Well, I guess they're like, you got this far with us. You trust us.
You're probably already on Amazon and Goodreads. You can do this.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for talking book gifts with us. So maybe I'll give you a month off.
It's okay if you need me again. It's always fun to hang out with you.
Well, thank you so much. And we will be back shortly with some book reviews from my pal Oscar is back. He's been traveling the world and he is back and he has read some really good books he's going to share with you this month. Okay, and we are back this month with Oscar. What have you been up to?
3 days.
Good answer. So you took a big trip recently too, didn't you?
Yes.
Where'd you go?
Australia.
To Australia. Amazing. So you're a big world traveler.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part of Australia?
The Opera House.
Oh, very cool. In Sydney?
Yeah.
Okay. Did y'all get to go see something, like go inside and see a show or anything?
We just did like a tour.
Yeah. That's a cool building. So I've been dying to ask you what you read while you were in Australia.
I've read this, The Dangerous Book
Oh, the
for
book.
Boys.
Awesome. So what you're going to be reviewing for us today?
Yeah, and then I also, the other 2 books we're reviewing is this one.
Trapped in Hitler's Web.
And then
Okay.
this is just one of the series of Big Nate.
Oh, I like Big Nate. Okay. Awesome. So if you want to go ahead and start giving us your reviews, just make sure you give us the title of the book and the author. So
The Dangerous Book for Boys by Con Iggulden and Hall Iggulden. And it's like, it has a bunch of different stuff in it. Like, a few of the titles, hang on. They're like, they say like, the top 10, I think it's like the 7 ancient wonders of the world.
cool.
Yeah, they
cool.
do that. They do like something called A Brief History of Artillery. They do like all the planets. They do like how to make stuff like a tree house and stuff.
Very interesting. Where did you hear about that book? Did you just find it or?
I've had it for like a long time now, so I just picked it up. I'm like,
I actually bought that book for my son when he was your age, and he really liked it, but I never read it, so I wasn't really sure what all it was about. So would you recommend that book to somebody who's looking for Christmas presents for somebody your age?
yeah.
You think so? Okay. Okay. What else do you got? What are your other reviews for us?
We got Big Nate.
Big Nate blow the roof off?
Yeah,
Is that what that one's called?
This one's the newest one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
And what's it about?
It's about him and school, pretty much. He meets this girl. Yeah, there. Wham.
Okay.
And then, like, it's about them, and then, like, how, like, Halloween. Like, him doing Halloween.
Okay. And that's a graphic novel, too.
Yeah, kind of like a comic-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think that people who like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books would like Big Nate?
Yeah. Or, like, if
Okay.
they like Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I love Calvin and Hobbes still.
I have those books as well.
Awesome.
And
Okay, what's your last?
Is Trapped in Hitler's Web.
Trapped in Hitler's Web.
Marcia Forchuk Skrypook. I think that's how you say it. It's
we can Google it if we need to. Yeah. Okay, so tell us about that one.
It's about this girl and like her friend's Jewish, so they sign up for the programa, like the lie thing, that like work thing, and they get separated, and it's like how she survives, and then like she ends up meeting him and like getting back together with him.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any books on your Christmas list this year?
Some.
I bet you'll get them. You always have plenty of books. I always love it when your mom posts pictures of you reading in unexpected places. Where were you at the not too long ago when it was like intermission at a play and you were reading a book or something?
That was a Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story, okay.
I was reading a book my friend gave me.
Well, awesome. Well, keep up all of the good reading, and we appreciate all of your reviews. I've gotten a lot of good feedback about your segment, so we're really happy, happy to have you here. So you'll have some more books for us next month to start the new year.
Probably Calvin and Hobbes.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I can talk Calvin and Hobbes all day long.
Artemis Fowl, maybe. That's really good.
Well, give me a book to read between now and then.
My bookshelf. There's one by Alan Gratz, Project 1065.
Okay.
That one's good. There's also Ground Zero. It's about
9/11.
9/11. And then there's Prisoner B037, I think.
Okay. Have you read Refugee?
No, not yet.
I haven't either. That's one of his I need to read.
His newest book is 2 Degrees.
Oh, what's it about? I didn't know he had a new book out. Don't know yet either.
And I'm right now I'm reading the Harry Potter series.
Are you? Which book are you on?
Half-Blood Prince.
Oh, so that's number 6, right? So you are going through those things. Who's your favorite Harry Potter character so far?
Harry Potter.
Yeah, I liked Harry Potter, and I liked Sirius Black. He was one of my favorites. And I love the Weasley twins. The Weasley twins were awesome.
George and Fred.
Yeah. Well, okay. Thank you again for being with us this month, and
you're welcome.
So glad to hear your reviews, and we'll check back in with you next month and see what you got for us. Okay.
Bye.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Check Your Shelf. You can find us on Instagram at Check Your Shelf Podcast, and for more recommendations from Jennifer, check out Jenny the Book Gal on Instagram. Check Your Shelf is proud to be a part of the Alabama Take Network. If you love pop culture and podcasts, head over to thealabamatake.com and check out the other podcasts we have available. And for more bookish content, be sure to read Laura the Librarian's articles, which are also available at thealabamatake.com. I just reread the one with her nonfiction recommendations to add them to my TBR list. We'll be back next month to talk about book clubs and reading challenges. Have a wonderful holiday and a safe and happy new year.